the peace in the midst of our congregation. All in together now, singing, bringing hope. Got the devil on the ropes, tag teaming, steaming with the spirit that be burning the bones. Praying that he never ever leaves us alone. So stop sinning, stop tripping, put on the whole armor of God and get thoroughly equipped and flip the script and read new, stay true. Cause under the clear blue, there ain't nothing new. Word doers do. How's about you on the real? Honey, tell me what's the deal?
All right. What is the deal? Why is it so hard to keep it real? All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to today's today's live session of Truly Foundation and A Course in Miracles. My name is Oliver Blue, and I am delighted to be here with you on this noonday as we continue on our journey of transformation. And it gives me great pleasure to be your temporary guide, your temporary host, your temporary coach. But I'm even more delighted to know that I am your permanent brother, that I am one with you. And so today, on this 194th lesson out of the spiritual document called A Course in Miracles, we are going to look at but another lesson, another workbook lesson that is designed to help all of us to transform our thinking, our perception from that of an idea of being separate or being separated from our source, being separated from our creator and from each other and from all living things, to transform that thinking to a thought system or to every thought of God, to be transformed by the renewing of our mind, so that we can not only prove, but that we can have that direct experience of our true identity as the very extension of God, our Father, as the very offspring of who God is, that we can experience our true self, our true divinity, so we can have the direct experience of what it means to be one with God, to experience oneness, even in this world of perception, this world of duality, this world of limitation, that we can have an awareness and a consciousness, that we can enjoy what Jesus called the mind of Christ, that we can allow that mind to be in us that was also in him, that mind that gave him the awareness that he has equality with God. And so do we, and so do you. And so it goes beyond our traditions. It goes beyond trying to find something to, or some way to appease our creators, trying to get rid of sin consciousness, guilt, and fear. It transcends that. We move from this place of doing to this space of being, and not just human being, but our divine being. We really begin to become in tune and in touch with our divine self, our eternal self, that which was from the beginning, that which God said that he or she or it knew before we was formed in our mother's womb. There is a you that, and there's a me that we need to know. And in order to know it, we have to deconstruct everything that we have known. Who are we without our thoughts? Who are we without our personal history? Who are you without all of your experiences? Who are you without your possessions? Who are you without all the objects in this world? Who are we without our pain, our disappointments? Who are we without our body identification? Who are we without the body? We still exist. This is the you that we, this is the I, or we call the I am, that we so desperately desire to get in touch and in tune with, because it's our real true self. It is the being. It is the being that exists once we deconstruct all of that history, once we deconstruct all of our experiences, all of the objects of our experiences. It is getting down to what we call the real you that loves you, or the real you that is love, or the real you that was created before there was time and before there was space, the you that was an extension of the one being that exists, that we call God. And so when we deconstruct all that we have known, all that there is left is what we call being. And this is the one being that we all share, even God share in this one being. We call it life. And this is what our heart longs to know. This is what our soul so desire to express, to allow to be released from the prison of this world of limitation, from this world of thinking so myopically about this self that we made, that is so imprisoned by the thoughts of this world. We so desire to separate ourselves from this inferiority complex that we got conditioned in. There is nothing inferior about us. God is our creator. God is our father. And what God is, he creates like unto himself. And so that is who we all are. But some way, somehow, we entertain a thought of separation, which led us down the road of being prodigal. Being prodigal basically means that we have left our home. We have left our original state of being, in the sense that it is impossible to leave home. It's impossible for an idea to leave its source. It's impossible for that which God has created to be changed or altered. And so in reality, we remain not only where God created us, but in reality, all of us remain as God created us. And so in reality, we are the holy home. We are the holy home of God. That's our reality. This is what happens when we deconstruct our life experience here in time and space, which is just a temporary experience. It's not real because it's temporary. It's not real because it's not eternal. No one has ever had a bodily experience that's eternal, and neither with you or I. because it is not real. It is just an experience that one has on its journey of evolution. And so to get so caught up into this world experience and to lose sight of our true identity. And so when we get so caught up in the possibilities of being famous or possessing certain things or having a special relationship or participating in some grand activity, when we allow these experiences, these passing experiences, to so eclipse our true identity, to so eclipse our purpose for this experience, then we have to lose knowledge of ourselves as well as we lose knowledge of our Creator. And we certainly lose knowledge of each other. And so we create or make a world where you see what goes on in it that is full of darkness at times, it seems, because that is all that is reported. We see a world where life is not valued. We see a world where there are legions, huge legions of humanity that has no idea who they are and would just as much take one's life than to enhance one's life. And so all of this confusion and chaos comes out of a forgetting of who we are. It comes out of a not knowing. It comes out of a being conditioned to the thought system of this world, which we call the ego thought system. And that thought system has its base and its original idea in the belief that we, as God's only creation, has some way, somehow separated ourselves from that reality, and that we're now able to make a life, to make an identity of our own, to make a world of our own, to seek for the thing that has already been given unto us, to seek for joy and peace and happiness, to seek for significance, to seek for prestige, to seek for some kind of clarity, to make sense of all of this. And all the time, heaven remained intact in all of this happening, and all of this dream-like focus, life and life more abundantly has not been affected by any of it. Who we really are as God innocent, as God's divine, as God's glorious creation, who we are as that has not been altered one iota. We remain as God created us. Not one note in heaven's song has been missed or replaced. Love has not been defeated. God has not fallen off the wall and broken into billions and billions of pieces as though the world would communicate back to us. But all is well. And we come into the awareness that all is well when we wake up from this nightmare of the belief in separation. When we wake up from this dream of separation, where we have tried to make out of something what it is not. We cannot change our identity. We are eternal beings. We are God's highest creation, along with every other living thing that God has created, likened to himself. We are love itself. And when we wake up to that reality, when we are enlightened or come to the recognition of the truth of who we are, we no longer look through the filters of this world, but we release ourselves from the imprisonment of this world, from this world thinking. We release ourselves from a self-image of ourselves that was no way a part of our original creation. We begin to see ourselves as Jesus saw himself and called himself as the Christ. You begin to see yourself as the Christ, and you begin to allow that Christ consciousness. You begin to allow the mind of Christ to be in you as it was in Jesus, our brother, to the point where you come to understand that you have equality, not only with God, but with each other. Because without equality, there is no relationship. Without equality, there is no joy and happiness. You have to know it. We have to know that we're not inferior to our Creator. We have to know that superiority and inferiority are ideas of the ego. And they're not God ideas. And I know I've been going on and on here, but I just sense that this loss of forgetfulness of who we really are is at the root of all human suffering. It's at the root of all anguish. It's at the root of all our pain. It's at the root of all of our disappointment. It's at the root of all of our confusion. It is at the root of all of our chaos. All the chaos that you see in the world, at the root of it, I know it has to do with unawareness of who we really are. And so as I continue on this 1 year journey, this 365-day journey, as we go through each lesson, each day out of the workbook, out of A Course in Miracles, what we don't need anymore, what we need less of is religious ideas, and what we need more of is the truth. We need more awareness of the reality of who we are. We need more awareness of who we are to each other. You see the patterns of this world. You see the history of this world. You see the magnitude of chaos. And we all wonder, where have we gone wrong? And so I just think that this kind of conversation is needful. It's needful on every level, in every arena of life. It's called straight talk. We need to talk straight. What is the deal? Like the song said when we started this session. Why is it so hard for us to keep it real? Why is it so hard for us to identify what true reality is? What is true for us? What is real for us? This course has as its foundation, fundamentally, at the foundation of A Course in Miracles, is the idea that we need to be able to discern between that which is real and that which is not. And this course has given us the criteria for which it uses to help us to bring clarity to reality versus unreality. This is straight talk. Why we find it so hard to keep it real? Why do we find it so hard to embrace the awareness and the knowledge of who we are? Why is it so hard to understand that we are eternal beings? We are God's offspring. We are who God is. And God is who we are. There is no joy and happiness beyond, outside of the knowing of that. There is only superficial moments of seeming gratification. But in reality, to have any type of sustained peace, to have any type of sustained balance, to have any type of sustained equilibrium, certainty, surety, one has to embrace their true reality as a shared being with God, with their creator. And not only we share this one being with God, but we share it with each other, that there is nothing but the one, and we all share in that oneness. It is only through this level of thinking that there will ever be peace on earth. It's only at this level of thinking that there will ever be any sustained joy in one's life. And so it's just a recognition of who we are that enlightens us and awakens us and calls us to be reborn to our original state of being, our original state of being, which is peace. Our original state of being is joy and happiness. And there is not one more desirous of our happiness than the one that created us. God is only interested in our happiness, and he knows it only comes, or she knows it only comes through the knowing of the self. That's why the great poet quoted many, many years ago, to know thyself. Why? Because it is in the knowing of thyself that now you come to know your creator, because you come to know that you and your creator are one and the same. And it is in that sameness, not the difference. It's in the oneness, not the separation, that we finally can relax and be comfortable in our own self. Where there's no more pain, no more suffering. There's no more anxiety. There's no more worry or fretting about the future or about the past, because we come to realize that there is only the presence. There is no future. There is no past. There's only the present. And then we begin to see from God's perspective, even though we're still here in time and space, that past, present, and future, they're all the same. And so I better get into the lesson, because if I don't, my hour will be up, and I have not talked about Workbook Lesson 194. And so I'm going to do that. So today's idea, Workbook Lesson 194, it states, and this is again, these 365 lessons are designed to help us to move up the ladder of awareness, to transcend, our mortal thinking, to transcend our human limitations, and to really begin to have a direct experience in who we really are. And to share, not just to have it for ourselves, but then to extend it to all humanity, to share it with all humanity. And this is what we do here at Truly Foundation. And so today's idea says, I place the future in the hands of God. And that sounds so simple. It sounds so, I heard that before. But to hear it is one thing, but to really know, to really experience it, to really believe it, to really embrace it as your own, as a way of life, that you place the future in the hands of your creator. Do we really do that? Do you know what that really means? when that is a reality in our life, when one actually place their future in the hands of God. In the hands of God is just symbolic. God is not some bodily being with hands and feet and heads. We get this image of God as being form. Just like we have this image of ourselves of being form. But the form or the bodily form that we are familiar with, that we call ourselves, is not who we are. We are aware of this person in time and space. But God, just like us, is a timeless and a formless being. That which was before we were formed, okay? That which was before there was form. And we understand everything is form is temporal. So even form is not the original state of God. It's not God's original nature, because God is formless and timeless. But the potentiality to have a temporary expression of form is what we are experiencing here. Just think, your body is temporary. And everything you see with your physical eyes, everything is temporary. It comes and it goes. Even every human being that is recognized in a form, they are temporary. They're here today, they're gone tomorrow. So we know that God is eternal. We know that reality, that love is eternal. And that which love expresses, or reality expresses, or God expresses, is eternal. So these temporary states, these temporary experiences are just that. They are temporary. So you can't put any stock in it, because it comes and it goes. Even the writer in the New Testament says, look not at the things that can be seen. Look not at them. What he was saying is, don't put any lasting confidence or credence in it. Why? He said the things that are seen, they are temporary, meaning that they're subject to change. He said, but look at the things that are not seen. Look at the things that are timeless and formless, is what he's saying, which is who you are and who I am, who God is. Because it's the things that are not seen, the things that are timeless and formless. These are the things that are eternal, meaning what? They never change. They're never altered. They are eternal. Who you are, who God is, it is eternal. It's formless and timeless. And that's why he said, don't look at those things. In other words, don't put any permanent stock in it, because these things are impermanent. The only thing that is permanent is you and me and the one that created us. He said, because the things that are not seen, they are eternal. And that is who we are. And so when we talk about the hands of God, it's basically symbolic of the source of all life. I place the future in the source, the only source that there is. I place my future in reality and not in unreality. I place my future in the truth and not in illusions. I place my reality in heavenly places, which represents the peace of God. And I don't place my future in earthly places, temporary places, places that are what? Passing away, that which comes and goes. No, we place our future in that which is permanent. And so that's what we call, we lump it all up in one sum, and universally we accept the term as God. But it doesn't matter what you call it, whatever that being mean to you, whatever represents that original being, the one that's responsible for everything the source of all things, the source of all life, no matter what you call it. What matters is that we understand that it's changeless, it's eternal, it's unalterable. What matters is that we recognize that it can be unrecognized, but it cannot be changed. What matters is that we understand that it is everything that God creates, like unto itself. What is important is that we realize that it is only that one source, which we call God or which we call love, that creates reality, and that we are a part of that reality. What matters is that we realize that this reality that we're talking about, it has no beginning and it has no end. It is beyond something that we can learn. It just is. Like we said in previous lessons, God is, and there is nothing else. And what's important to understand about this reality is that it is beyond time and space. So we have to transcend our thinking. We have to transcend our thinking, and we can. Why? Because we're made in the image and likeness of God. We can because we have the wherewithal, we have the infrastructure. And I'm not talking about the bodily infrastructure, but we have the mind of God. We are the spirit of God. We have the ability. We have the equal ability to think beyond this world. We can do it. We can imagine it. And what's important is to know that there is no opposite to love. There's no opposite to God. There's no opposite to reality. This world seems like it presents opposites to what love is, because we understand that God is light, and in God there and in him there is no, in her there is no darkness at all. But we see a tremendous amount of darkness in the world, meaning acts of unlovingness that it seemed to be opposed to God, or it seemed to communicate to us that there is an opposite to God, but in reality it's not. There's no beginning and there's no end. That reality, that God, that love, whatever represents to you the ultimate, it merely is, and it can't be changed. And so we merely are, and we can't be changed, even though we're having this experience, this bodily, humanly experience. It's not who we are. It's just the experience we're having. And we need to stop confusing the two. So today's idea takes another step towards, it says, quick salvation. This is a quick way to step towards the knowing of the truth, by embracing this idea that we place our future in the hands of our one source. It's a giant stride indeed, because for the most part, our future, as we experience it day in and day out, a lot of time is held in a place called anxiety, where we're uncertain about the future, or we worry about the future, or we're concerned about the future, that it's not going to be enough, that we're not going to be supported, that there's going to be more of the same destruction, more of the same hatred, more of the same inequality, more of the same scarcity, more of the same concerns. And so it takes real conviction to let go of what we may anticipate, what we call the future. And so it says, this is a giant step to our experience of ourselves when we learn to release the future into the hands of our Creator. It says, so great the distance is that it encompasses. It says, it sets us down just short of heaven when we do this. And this is somewhat symbolic here. It says, with the goal in sight and the obstacles behind us. So when we really place our future in the hands of our Creator, in the hands of our Father, it says, this places our goal of peace in sight and put all the obstacles that was in our way, like anxiety and fear and guilt, and overly concerned about the body, overly concerned about the world. Is the world going to destroy itself? Or are we going to destroy ourselves? Or are we going to like the conversation that may be going on in your community, the conversation that's going on the nightly news? Is there going to be is there going to be wars in the streets of America? Is there going to be civil war? See, all this is anxiety. All this is worry about the future that the world will lay upon you heavily to the point that you can't even rest at night. You can't even be at peace during the day, let alone rest at night. These things are coming at us every day in so many different forms that we don't even have time, that you don't have time. If your focus is on what the world is putting out, you don't have time to check on what is real. And so it says, our foot has reached the lawns that welcome us to heaven's gate when we place our future in the hands of our Creator. We have done a great thing. This is a great thing for us to relinquish all anxiety, all fear, all guilt, all worry, all concerns into the hand of what the Course calls the hands of God. It says to do this, it's almost like reaching heaven's gate. We're so close to putting all this world behind us. We're so close to having this experience that we have dreamed of. Okay, somehow our broadcast got interrupted. Maybe this talk was too deep for the cyber community. This maybe I need to back off a little bit. What do you think? Let me check to make sure we're still there. Let me make sure that we're still there. Okay, we're still there. All right. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened. It doesn't matter. I've placed the future in God's hand. So we're back. And so it says, how far are we progressing now from this earthly mindset. It says, how close are we approaching to our goal? What is our goal? Our goal is peace. Our goal is truth. The truth that what is true always. That's our goal. Our goal is to lay aside, like the Bible say, every weight. Our goal is clarity. Our goal is understanding. It says, how far are we progressing? It says, how close are we approaching to our goal? Our goal of what? Of being transformed. Our goal of not being conformed to this world, but being transformed by the renewing of our minds. To have our minds to be what? Transformed back into their original state, whereby we now think with the thoughts of God, so that our perception can be in alignment with the thoughts of God, so that we we have the Christ consciousness, we have the Christ awareness, we have Christ vision, where now we see from God's perspective and not from our own. That we see from the perspective of oneness and not from the perspective of separation and division and multiplicity. That's our goal. Our goal is happiness, joy, and peace. Our goal is to stand in our glory. Our goal is to be the full expression of who we are. Our goal is to fulfill our role and our function here as what? The light of the world. And like we learned on yesterday, the one thing that God would have us learn in everything is to forgive the dream and the dreamer, so that we can see things from God's perspective, so that we can see things differently. Those are our goals, all wrapped up into one. It's the knowing of the self. It says, how short the journey still to be pursued. It says, accept today's idea. What is today's idea? I place my future in the hand of my Father, in the hand of my Creator. It says, or what we're saying is that we place our future, which is our present, and our past. We place it all in the arms of truth. We place everything in the bosom of reality. That we recognize that we have been programmed and conditioned in such a way that we have experienced the anxiety, the suffering, the pain, the depression. We have become victim-minded as a result of taking on the thinking of this world. And so today we accept the idea that we will only accept the truth that is true always, and we'll accept it for ourselves, and that we let go of every illusion that we ever thought about ourselves and about each other and about our Creator. And we allow God's perspective, God's point of view, to reinterpret everything for us. So now we see the real world. Now we understand who we are. Now we have a knowledge of our purpose and our function here. Now we have aligned ourselves with the true meaning and the depth of life. And so it says, accept today's idea. That's what we are accepting. To let go of all worry and doubt and fear. To let go of all consciousness of sin, which is an illusion also. To let go the belief or the idea of separation and death and pain and anguish. To understand that all those things come from embracing a false identity, from embracing a false idea about life itself. And so it's like we're holding on to to unforgiveness. We're holding on to an idea that is not a God idea. And the effects of that are the things that we have negatively experienced. And we don't want them no more to be a part of our life, because they're not a part of our nature. They're not a part of who we are. That's why we are so sensitive to being joyless or without happiness or without abundance. We're so sensitive to it because we know something is wrong, something is out of place, something is out of sorts. And it is. And we come to find out that it's our thinking. And our thinking has become a result of our conditioning of this world. And so, as important as it is, God said, what? You have to renew your mind. And that's what we're doing in these lessons, these workbook lessons. So we accept and embrace today's idea. And we have passed all anxiety. You want to get rid of anxiety? Embrace today's idea. Place all your future. Place all your confidence. Place all your certainty in the truth that is true always. And the truth that is true always is that God is the only reality there is. And we are a part of that reality. We are the shared part of God. Embrace that, and anxiety goes. It says, accept today's idea, and you have passed all anxiety, all pit of hell. If there's a belief in hell, if there's a concern about heaven or hell, that comes from embracing an idea that is not true. He says, so embrace today's idea, and you pass the pit of hells. It says, all blackness of depression. You're having a problem with depression? Here's the solution. Place your entire life, your entire confidence in the love that created you. It says, thoughts of sin. Are we struggling with sin consciousness? It's coming out of holding on to a thought or an idea that is an illusion. There is no sin. That's a man-made idea. We make mistakes, yes. There's error all over the place, yes. But mistakes and errors, they can be corrected. The idea of sin is that it can't be corrected. It's punishable by death. Where did that idea come from? It's not a God idea. Why? Because in God, there is no death. But this is what we do when we don't allow ourselves to explore the reality that God is love, God is light, and in Him, in her, in it, there is no darkness. So it creates a conflict. We have created one of the most outrageous conflicts that can be created. And that is to think that God is an unloving Father, that God is duality, that God has a two-edged sword, that God will punish, God will destroy, God will withhold. God is jealous. God is, God is human. We hold that idea that God is an ego that needs to be appeased and pleased and worshipped, and all of the things that we say that make us inferior to the very thing that created us. Those are ideas that we made up, and it has created the greatest conflict. It has brought on the most fear. We fear ourselves, we fear each other, and we fear our Creator because of these ideas. But they're finally being brought to the truth. And we're seeing that these ideas are just traditions or ideas of men who didn't know about the love that God is. Prior to Jesus showing up, the whole concept of God being a loving Father had never been introduced to the world. And when he introduced that idea to the world that God is a loving father, they sought to kill him. Why is that? Because to say in their culture, to say that someone was your father is to say that you have equality with them. It says it in the scripture. It says that Jesus, because he called God his father, making him equal with God, which what that means in their culture, and it is an example of symbolic of what it means in reality, because it's true. It's true in the natural, and it's true in eternity. That's why you can never change the fact. I mean, a child can, or a parent could say, I never want to see you again. You're not my parent. Or the parent can say, you're not my child. And they can say it until what? There's no more breath, but it won't change reality. That they are. That which you have created, that which you have given birth to. You can't undo it. God created us. God gave us our life, our very life. God extended himself in creation. And he made what he is himself, which is eternal love. And that is who we are. And that can never be changed. It can never be altered. Even if we create a world of our own. And for thousands and thousands of years, we've tried to make that reality an unreality by saying that we're separate from God. That God doesn't love us. That God is mad at us. God is punishing us. God is doing this to us. No matter how hard we have tried to do that, it doesn't change the reality that we are the loving offsprings of God, and God is only love. So where these ideas come from, they have come from humanity, who believe that he separated himself. We even got books written about it. And we call them holy. And they're just stories. The only truth that is true always is the truth that God is your only life. And God is love. And so are you. And when we wake up from this dream, from this state of hallucination, from these vain imaginings, from these fantasies of being inferior to our source, until that happens, we will continue to see a world that is so divided and full of hatred, and see all the atrocities that are happening. That's why they're happening. It's a rejection of who they are. It's a rejection. When you see the hatred and the vitriol and the fighting and the threats and the attacks and the wars and the poverty and the sickness and the disease and the death and the disease that has loomed large over history, it's because mankind has lost an awareness of who he is, and he's gone savage. And truth is our only way out of this chaos. And the first step to truth is forgiveness, where we give up this idea of a separate, made up self, of a body identity self. Is to forgive that idea, to give it up for a different idea. That's the first step, is to forgive yourself from dreaming the dream of separation. You forgive the dream and the dreamer, and you realize that we only made an error. and errors can be corrected. And correction comes through the truth. And that's why we're here every day sharing the truth so humanity can wake up. That's why Jesus came in his incarnation to wake up humanity. And now it's our time here in 2024 or 2022 to wake up. And to wake up is very simple. This is like waking up from your natural sleep. To wake up is to just recognize. It's but a recognition of your oneness with God. It's but a recognition, but your oneness with each other. It's but a recognition of the love that you are and the love that we share, that we all share the same life, the same breath, the same love. There is no separation. There's only the one, and we're part of that one. It's just that simple. There's no other requirement. You don't have to be a part of this or a part of that. You don't have to go here or go there to look for that. It's already inside of you. And I'm only here to remind you of what you already know, what is already present within you. God is everywhere present. God is in you. God has always been not only in you, but as you. There's never been a break. There's never been a separation. The only break or separation has happened in our minds. And so that's why we're going through this mind training called A Course in Miracles. That's why we're going through these 365 lessons. Each lesson building upon the other. Each lesson helping us to come out of a state of being conned by this world. Conformed or shaped by the thinking of this world. Each lesson help us to be transformed, to move ourselves from a state of illusion, from a state of falsity, to move ourselves. That's what trans means, to move from one place to another. So we're moving our thoughts, we're moving our conviction from being separate and apart from our Creator to being one with our Creator. It's just that simple. It's the most natural thing that can happen to anyone. That's what Jesus meant when he said, you must be born anew. You must return to your original state. You must embrace the truth of who you are. Otherwise, you can't see the reality of who you are. I hope I am talking so plain and simple that a 3-year-old can understand what I'm saying, because it is so vital. Listen, we're only here now. We can only do about what we can do about right now. And so we have vowed here at Truly Foundation to put all of our efforts, all of our resources into bringing this awareness to humanity. We've been in the place of the suffering. We've been in the place of the fear. I personally experienced it to the point where I didn't think that I deserved anything but punishment. I know what that feels like. I know what it looks like. And so, because I have awakened from that, I desire that all my family to wake up to this truth, these realities, so that your joy and your peace and your happiness can be restored, not just for a moment in time here and there, but that you begin to walk, like Jesus said, you begin to walk in the spirit of your reality. You begin to be that light that you are. You begin to extend and share the love that you are, to fulfill your function of forgiveness. And it doesn't matter what arena of life that you're in, wherever you find your place, wherever you find yourself right now. It's not about changing where you are. No, where you are is everywhere. where you are is perfect. The only thing that needs to change is our minds. Because when we change our mind, everything externally changes in the sense of our perception, our understanding, our interpretation change. So accept today's idea, and you have passed all anxiety, all pit of hell, all blackness of depression, thoughts of sin, and devastation brought about by guilt. Want deliverance from guilt? This is how it's done. It says, accept today's idea, and you have released the world from all imprisonment by loosing the heavy chains that lock the door to freedom on it. What's the heavy chains that lock the freedom on this world? Our thinking. The world, the physical world, is in the anguish that it's in as a result of our thinking, humanity's thinking. What happens in the heavenlies? What happens in the waters? What happened on the physical earth? What happens in our environment? It is not a cause, but it's the effect of humanity's thinking. We are the God of this world. And even the scripture says that the earth groans and travail for the manifestation of the sons and daughters of God to take our rightful place, to think rightly, so that it can be released from the bonds of pain that it's experiencing. All the chaotic storms and all the chaotic things that are happening in the world, where the world seems to be, being affected. We call it global warming. We call it, all the weather patterns that are so destructive. All of the things that the wildfires and everything that we look at and say, boy, it's bad. Well, it is a reflection. It's a reflection of our thinking, humanity's thinking. And so the earth said it groans, the universe groans for us to stand up to the truth of who we are and be the light and the loving beings that we are. So everything can be placed in its peaceful, orderly, serene alignment. It's coming from us. We are the one that's projecting all of this out of our thinking. So we have to go to the source of the problem. You can't fix those things out there. They have to be fixed within first. And the things out there will fall in line. It's all about the way we think and what we're thinking. What we think about, we are bringing about. What are you bringing about in your life? Are you creating a life of light? Is your environment a place of peace, a place of joy, happiness? Are you forgiving? All these things are reflective of the way that we're thinking. So we have to renew the mind. And when I point up here, the mind's not in our heads. I just point here, but that's where we believe it is. The mind is outside of our head. The mind is not the brain. The mind is outside of our physical awareness. The mind is timeless and formless. The mind is the spirit. It transcends this. And so that's why we go through these workbook lessons. It says, we are saved, and our salvation thus becomes the gift we give the world. Because we have received. When we wake up and when we embrace this truth, when we embrace all the gifts of God, when we embrace the mind of Christ, it says that not only are we saved, but the world is too. In no one instant is depression felt when we embrace the truth. When we wake up from the dream of separation, it says, in no instant is depression felt, or pain experienced, or loss perceived. Now we're thinking with the mind of Christ. There is no loss, there is no depression, and there is no pain. When we fully give our future over to our Creator, when we fully give our future over to reality, over to that which is true about who we are, it says, in no one instant, sorrow can be set upon a throne and worshiped faithfully. It says, in no one instant can one even die. Because we understand that death does not exist in God. The sensation of a body, that's not death. That's the sensation of a body. But the body is not life. So when we understand the truth, we understand that death does not exist. That's what Jesus meant when he says, oh, death, where is your sting? And death can only have a sting when we believe in it. That is true. That's the sting of death, the belief in it. But Jesus removed that sting by bringing us a revelation of our true reality. He said, and so each instant that we give unto God, it says, in each instant given unto God in passing, with the next one given him already, is a time of our release from sadness, pain, and death itself. So this lesson today, where we place our future, we place our present, our past, we place everything in the truth that is true always. We place it within the hands of a loving Creator, a loving Father. We place it within a hand that knows nothing but equality, that knows nothing but light and love, that knows nothing but immortality. When we place all that we are, and we do that because we understand that God is our very life, as Colossians says, for you Bible scholars, that God has become our very life. God has always been our very life. And so we appear here now. And this, when you awake, when we come to this awakened state, we appear in the person of God. I know that's a big pill to swallow, but it's the truth. You can never really represent who you are with the mindset of inferiority, with a sense of separation, with a sense of guilt, sin consciousness, depression, anxiety. That's not a representation of our true nature. That's just an indication. It's not a place to be guilty. It's just an indication that we're still holding on to some false ideas. And the moment that we release them, those things go with them. Anxiety, sin consciousness, guilt, and fear, it goes with the release of a false idea. Depression, it goes with it, with the release of a false idea. Being imprisoned, the imprisonment of our minds goes, the lack of peace goes with the release of the false idea of who we are. Sorrow, pain, it says the belief in death. It says God holds our future as he holds our past and our present. In other words, God holds everything. Notice here, it says they are one to him. And so they should be one to us. There is no, in reality, there is no such thing as past and future. There's only the present. We've talked about this on many occasions. That's why you hear all the time, remain in the present, remain in the present. Why? Because in the past, there's only what? Guilt. In the future, there's only what? Anxiety. Because those are unrealities. They don't exist. And so we live in a place of illusion when we're so what? Rehearsing the past. And we rehearse the past when we hold others, when we hold grievances against others, when we hold against our brother, or sister, something that we thought that they done. So that is the what? Hold on to the past. So when we hold on to the past, we're holding on to guilt. And then when we focus or anticipate what's not going to be in the future, that's what brings on the anxiety. And no little pill is going to resolve that. No procedure cannot resolve psychological suffering. The only thing that heals psychological suffering is the truth, and not just the truth in of itself. He said the truth that we know, the truth that we embrace for ourselves or as our very own. He says, yet in this world, the temporal progression still seems real. Time seems to still tick on and on, 1 second, 1 hour, 1 minute, 1 day, 1 month, 1 year. It seems like we're on a lateral progression, but in reality, there is no lateral progression. Remember, the Course said time is an illusion too. But we're on a oneness progression where there's only this present moment. And in each moment is the present moment. So God is saying, release your future into the truth and the reality of who you are. And that means that in each moment, you remain in the presence where there's fullness of joy. You remain in the presence where God and his presence is everywhere present. And so are you. And so are me. So is me. He says, you are but asked to let the future go. This is the lesson today. Let the future go and place it in God's hand. Place it in truth. Place it in reality. Because when you place your future in God's hand, what you're saying is, I and my Father are one. When you place your future in God's hand, what you're saying is, when you've seen me, you have seen my Creator, because we are one. When you place your future in God's hand, what you're saying is, I am a timeless and formless being. I am eternal. I am infinite. I'm just like my Father. That is what you're saying. When you place your future in God's hand, you're saying, I have equality with God. I'm not robbing God by saying I have equality with him. This is the mind of Christ. That Jesus said, let this mind be in you that was also in me. And you will see by your experience that you have laid the past and the present in God's hand as well. Because the past will punish you no more. When we hold on to it, it's self-punishment. To hold on to the past is self-punishment. And we do it so many ways, and we don't know that we're doing it. We put more stock in our bodily identification than our divine identification. And so all we look at is the timeline of our bodily identification, our ancestors. We put stock in our nationalism. More people today, I'm seeing, they have more belief in their nationalism, their country that they're from. They have more belief. They have more belief in their gender. I'm a male or I'm a female. They have more credence. They put more credence in their race. They put more credence in the organizations that they belong to. And so they're holding on to the past. And we wonder, why are things falling apart? Because we're holding on to that which is not real. It says, so when we embrace the reality that our whole life is in God, it says, We see that our experience, that we have laid the past and the present in the hands of the one. It says, because the past will punish you no more, and the future dread will now be meaningless. And this is how we escape from anxiety. And wow, I can't get through this lesson. So I'm going to have to stop there. I'm going to have to stop there. But I did want to read this going out. And this is out of the book of Luke. And I think Jesus dealt with this same subject in his lifetime. The Course is just putting it in a more plain way. This is how Jesus shared this same lesson that I share with you guys today. This is how he shared it with the people of his time. If you look at Luke, if you're a Bible scholar, if you're not, just listen, you'll get the gist here. Luke chapter 12, verse 22. In the New Testament, it says, and Jesus said unto his disciples, disciples just mean his disciplined ones, his students. Jesus said unto the disciples, therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life. Don't take no thought for the past or the future. He said, take no thought. In other words, the thought's going to arise, but he said, don't take it as your own. See, we can't help thought from arising in our awareness. They just arise, and everybody have access to the same thoughts. Every thought that you think, it's not a private thought. Everyone is being tempted with that thought. They just arise because in this environment that we're in this dream that we're in of separation, thoughts arise, and most of them are negative thoughts. You know what I mean? But just because they arise, what we have to be taught is that they're not your thought. You don't identify with them. You don't embrace them. You just let them arise. You get to the point where when you renew your mind to know the truth, you don't even reckon. You begin to not even recognize them. You don't give them any credence at all. It says, take no thought for your life, what you shall eat, neither for the body. Take no thought for the body. And look in our society right now, where everything is about the body. If you go to the internet, go to Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all these things, and everybody is all about that body. That means that we're taking the thought of what we're going to eat, what we're going to drink, what we're going to wear, what we're going to look like, what people are going to think. It says, take no thought for your life, for what you shall eat, neither for the body, for what you shall put on. It says the life is more than meat, and the body is more than raiment, or the body is more than what we wear. The life is more than what we eat. The body is more than what we wear. It says, just consider the ravens. The raven is a bird. He said, just consider the ravens, for they neither sow nor reap. They don't work in this concept as we do. They don't sow seeds in the concept that we do. He said they neither sow nor reap, which neither have storehouse nor barns. And we do. We're building more barns, renting more storehouses to put our stuff in. He said, and God feeds them. And they don't have any of these things. He said, how much more are you better than the fowls of the air? We are God's highest creation. We are the Christ. We are what God extended. We're the glory of God. And God said, if this happened, I make this happen for the ravens. He says, how much better than the fowls that I'll make this happen for you? He said, and which of you, which taking one thought, notice now, taking the thought arises. We don't take the thought. We just let it arise. We notice what we're noticing. That takes discipline. That's why he said, my disciples. That's why he had disciples. He was training them to be disciplined in their thinking. These workbook lessons that I've been going through for the last 194 days or plus, these are designed to help discipline humanity in the way he thinks. Without discipline, the mind can really accomplish nothing that is eternal. He says, and which of you, with taking thought, can add to his stature 1 cubit? What can we add to what God created by taking thought? Nothing. We cannot add to perfection. What God created is perfect. You're perfect. You're whole and complete. You are holy. That's what holy means. You are whole and complete. You are the perfect creation of God, not your body. That's not who you are. But your timeless, formless self, the one being that we all share, that is what is perfect. That is what he's saying here. Place your trust in that. Place your future, your past in that, in the being that we are, in the true identity that you are. It says, if ye then be not able to do the thing which is least, why take you thought for the rest of it? If we can't add anything to the perfection that we are, why do we take thought about all the other concerns? Verse 27. He said, consider the lilies of the field. He's talking about the flower. He said, consider the lilies, how they grow. They toil not, they spin not. And yet I say unto you that Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these. And they didn't do anything. They just, well, you ever notice that all the other creations, the animal kingdom, the vegetation kingdom, you notice how all the other living things, they are comfortable in their environment. They just adapt to their environment. They don't stress out. They don't worry. They're not afraid. They don't hold any guilt thoughts about the past or any anxiety about the future. Have you noticed that? Have you ever seen a squirrel? He's just having fun. You ever seen a bird? Just having fun. You ever seen a fish in the water? Just naturally, not trying to get out of the water. They're trying to stay in the water. You ever notice a lily of the field? You ever notice the plants, the vegetation? They don't cry because there's no rain. They know the rain is coming. But humanity is who is the highest creation of God, is the most uncomfortable in the environment that it finds itself. Why? Because it has left its natural state. We left our natural state, and we left it not physically, but we left it in our minds, in the way we think. We left our right thinking of who we are. We lost identity. We think we're bodies. And so we're so uncomfortable in our environment. But the good news is we are creative beings just like our Father. And so we're able to create environments that are in line with our nature. So that, not that the environment is what gives us our peace and our joy and our happiness, but our peace and our joy and our happiness, it is inherent within us. We take it to everything that we do. So we build a happy place. We build a loving place, a joyful place. Temporary, but we know it's only temporary. We don't call it our home. And we become comfortable, even in this environment, because of not what we do, but because of what we know. He said, if then God who clothed the grass, notice now, God who clothed the grass, which is today in the field and tomorrow it is cast into the oven, how much more will this loving Father clothe you, O ye of little faith? But we only have little faith because we have little knowledge. We have only little knowledge because we're not using the awareness and the consciousness that we have to find our way. But today, in this lesson, we have found a way. And that lesson is we place everything. We place it all into our Creator's care. And by doing so, we return to a state of peace, a state of wholeness, a state of joy and happiness. Because we have complete confidence that God is love, and so are we. And so I'm going to have to put a pin in it right there because I've already gone way past my intention. So until tomorrow, keep this thought, keep this idea in your thinking that I place my future, my present, my past, I place everything in the reality of my own reality, and that is that I am one with my Father. I am one with my Creator. Have a great day. Bye-bye.